Hello, and welcome to a somewhat daily backup for Monday, the 23rd of November, a mere 5 months from my birthday. I'm your host, Nick Dick Boy Richardson. I am joined by Stephanie Lady Laphund Bendixson. How are you?
Well, I think my birthday is before yours.
Yeah, but I don't care about that. What do I get for that? Okay. 0 presents. When is your birthday?
31st of March.
That's so exciting.
Pretty great.
What are you going to do?
Probably nothing.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I like food. I like food-related things. We'll probably go out for a nice dinner. That's what I like doing as an old woman.
Yeah, and you won't save that for the birthday either. You'll probably do that this week and just continue.
Probably.
How old are you turning? Do we want to have that conversation?
Yeah, no, I have no issues with my age. I am 35, turning 36 in March.
So I'm turning 30. I'm turning 35. Yeah, right. Anything I should be prepared for in 5 months' time?
I feel like I'll have like a weird life crisis when I turn 40.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like 30 was a non-event. I was excited to turn 30. I was excited to be in my 30s, and I think being in your 30s is pretty great.
I feel like when you turn 30, suddenly like people start taking you seriously.
I was a dickhead in my 20s. I didn't know what I was doing. I was a massive tryhard. I feel like now I'm just much more chill.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. I didn't know you in your 30s.
Chat would agree. They'd say I'm pretty chill.
Yeah,
wouldn't you?
Pretty chill. All right. How is everybody doing? Welcome to a Monday. Did we all have a lovely weekend? I certainly did. I had just such a lovely, like, chilled out. You know when you have a plan on like a Sunday morning and it's like, we're going to do this, this, and this, and then you do the first thing, and then you're like, this first thing is so enjoyable. Let's just do this for a few hours. And it was just like hanging out with my brother-in-law and my nephew. We just like went to a massive cafe thing and just ate food for like 5 hours while the kids just played, and then came home and they slept for 3 hours. It's incredible.
That's awesome. Yeah, I feel like I had a really good weekend of like of perfect balance. Because I had a friend come up and visit, like an old friend from high school. One of the only friends really I've retained from high school because I don't like any of my high school friends.
Yeah. Who knew you in your 20s when you were an asshole?
Well, we had a kind of a break. I think that we reconnected later.
Because in your 20s you were too much of an asshole. It was like
I was awful. I was awful. Yeah, so she came up and she visited. We went on hikes. We went out for dinner. We went out for brunch. We got sun. It was beautiful. We caught up. And then she left, and then I played like 11 hours of Destiny. So it was perfect, really.
That is perfect. That sounds like the perfect weekend. Let me know what you did on your weekend. Send me a tweet. Tweet me and tell me what you did in your weekend because I want to know about it. It is time to jump into the news because some stuff happened, and it's our job to come here and tell you all about the things that happened. But before we do that, we need to tell you about 2 Pocketeers that we value greatly. The first one is Ruben H, who is today's Pocketeer patron extraordinaire. Ruben H, may you never foolishly commit to clearing an enormous, difficult raid in 24 hours and nearly break all the meaningful relationships in your life. So, Ruben, I certainly hope that you don't do that, and I'm fairly certain you will figure out what that means later on in the show. The second Pocketeer we need to thank is, of course, the one and only Tim, who brings you the Somewhat Daily Backup every single Monday and Wednesday. It is the Pocketeer Tim. Get your exclamation mark Tim's out in the chat because the Learn Programming Academy is here to help you learn programming in an academy setting. Head to lpa.dev/backpocket to download his guide right now. And Steph, if you could learn programming, what would be the first thing you would want to code? Like, if imagine that skill isn't like you are a gun programmer. What in your life needs a program?
I think when I was in high school and we had like early computer lab lessons on basic website design, I designed a very poor Gwen Stefani No Doubt fan site.
Amazing.
And so now I would like to make a sexier version of that.
Of course.
To complete the circle.
Is she still singing?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, she married a country music star after Gavin Rossdale cheated on her with the nanny, which is such a cliche.
Such a cliche. Don't cheat on the nanny. Like, pick the driver or something. The chef? Everyone
like
likes a man who can cook.
Anyone else.
That's a great pick. A new Gwen Stefani website, I think. I would like to just make a better version of our website. That would be great.
Well, Vega Bus says there should be a back pocket site.
Yeah, just like screenplay stuff. There should be a website.
Well, no,
we need a website.
No, that was dumb because it was like they wanted to host the show on it, which is like no one would go to an website.
And they just wanted to put ads on it.
Show.
That was the main thing.
But it'd be like you could find, we could sell our merch from there.
Yep, that's true.
We could have profiles about people.
Okay, I'll tell you what. If someone makes us the Back Pocket website, also just make a better low-key website. Those two things, and I'll give you something. I'll figure it out. You can have this clear...
Back Pocket in the chat says what merch?
There you go. You can have this clear iPhone 12 case that has a built-in pop socket. Very nice. You can have a mug, and you can have whatever we have left over from when we shaved Gus. Those are three things you can have.
I can offer you this custom Scardy sticker.
Oh my God.
Made by What the Shark.
What? How many of those do you have?
I have heaps.
I was going to say, you can't just get one sticker made. Wildly inefficient.
Well, I'm scared to give, I have a finite amount, so I'm scared to give out too many, but I've given them to friends and nieces and kids and stuff and a few other people.
That's very cute. What the
people
shark
are going
is
nuts. Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, it's mainly in the chat today. It's mainly just hell yeah, give me those stickers, and he's wearing the t-shirt. Those are the two things that I've seen mainly. And a BP cookbook. Oh yeah, well, that cookbook is on its way. That is winging its way towards us right now, so we can figure out what we're going to cook for that over the Christmas break. All right, let's jump. Oh, did I do the Tim thing? I didn't do the Tim thing.
You did the Tim?
Did I do?
Oh, you didn't finish it.
There are there's video tutorials. You can learn how to code. He'll teach you. He's a maniac and he gives away his knowledge like Bill Gates giving away his fortune, much to the chagrin of his children. All right.
I believe most of his courses are less than $20.
They are, and they're very short, and they're all video, so you don't have to read, something that Bill Gates hates to do. Let's jump into the first story. I'm very excited about this. I feel like I was talking about this a few days ago, but maybe I'm crazy. IO Interactive are making a James Bond game. The Hitman 2 developers announced on Thursday Project 007, a new game starring James Bond that will tell the British Secret Service operative's origin story, a wholly original Bond story exclusively as a video game where players must earn their 00 status. Was I talking about this with you or Pete or someone, or am I making that up?
I think maybe you're making it up.
Maybe I'm trying to look like I knew what was going to happen. I swear to God, I was at least thinking it. Are you keen for a James Bond game? I know you like the Bond movies.
I do really like the Bond movies, and I have good memories of GoldenEye, and I enjoyed that they kind of remade that, I guess. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I don't. I'm confused about if this is going to be a tie-in with the movie that's coming out now, because it doesn't seem like they have enough time.
No.
Is it going to be a standalone experience that's not connected to a film, or is it going to be connected to the next film?
I don't think no, unless the next film is an origin film. Like all the indications they've said is that it is a exclusive video game story, a wholly original Bond story exclusively as a video game. I believe it will be canon. But it is it's not tied into anything else.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess so.
Did you play the Hitmans?
No.
All right. Well, I
mean, like I played them like a bit, like through like Good Game and stuff like that, but I never like actively played them recreationally because I like loved them.
Recreationally. I recreationally use Hitman. I love the new Hitman games. I think IO have done a phenomenal job in sort of like reinventing that franchise. And certainly there are aspects of those games where if you just replace the fact that he's a criminal with being a spy, then there's a lot to really like here. I think IO do really great world building. I think they do glamour really well, which is something that I always think is important with a Bond film, where like the Hitman things sort of bounce around the globe and do these incredible locations filled with opulence and blah, 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 which I feel like that is a Bond thing. I really like the idea of a Bond video game where it's just you are this cool guy, because we don't have enough games like that. I feel like we don't have enough games where you're just a cool guy. But
as you said it, I was like, See, I feel like I prefer a Nathan Drake as a character. Like, I like that he is a bit more roguish and adventurous, and I like treasure hunting more than I like this kind of thing. But I appreciate this is the kind of cool spy situation.
Well, the question would be because obviously Roger Moore and stuff, that Bond, very silly. And then the Daniel Craig reboot stuff is very serious. Like they're more like dramas than anything else, really. IO, while the games look very serious, the Hitman franchise is actually filled with a lot of weird, dumb stuff. It's actually very silly, and all the disguises that you put on and that sort of thing. So I'm wondering if they will embrace the thing that IO do really well, which is pair sort of like this serious world with the idea of like emergent silliness. And make something that's a little more not tongue-in-cheek but playful.
Imagine if they made it like super camp.
like the Peter Sellers James Bond.
I don't know. Like, imagine if it was just like a really like 1960s like campy Bond.
Well,
Pussy galore situation.
It could be, because they say it's an origin story. They haven't said whether or not it's an origin story said current day, or we are going back to like, before the Connery era Bond. And because there's a charm to those games. There's a charm to those movies. That sort of bizarre and I like the idea.
But I think there's a charm to them because they exist and they come from a certain time. I think to make a film, make something like that now, trying to recap, like I feel like the Kingsman movie franchise did that kind of okay, but even there was stuff in that I found like
a little too far. Like, can you earnestly have pussy galore in a film and like be able to say that with a straight face? Probably not. It's currently in development in the Copenhagen, Denmark, and Swedish offices, and it's coming on modern systems and platforms. So that'll be PS5, Xbox Series X.
There's something, even just watching this footage, there's something so funny about the fact that like his whole thing is he's meant to be like blending in and stuff like that, but like half of his stealth is just walking around like this.
Totally, yeah. Well, that's how you hide. And when you've got
they can't see me now.
When you've got a completely bald head and a barcode tattooed into the back of it, then
not conspicuous at all.
No, not conspicuous at all. So I'm excited by this. I like IO Interactive. I like James Bond. It feels like the kind of thing that I want blended together, and I hope he wears a Christmas jumper.
Same.
Up next, GTA 5 getting an island heist and a submarine as well, or GTA 5 Online, I suppose. Apparently, their biggest heisty thing yet. Did you ever get into the GTA Online world?
No, I played GTA, of course. Like, I played through the story. Again, I hate to be a stick in the mud. These just aren't really games that connect with me personally.
That's fine.
I feel like I watch this footage, and it's hard for me to like want to celebrate. I don't know. When I play games, I like to come up against conflict of like aliens or zombies or like really, really bad people, and like, I don't know, like knocking over a casino just seems like violent in all the wrong ways. I love it that like the idea of bringing a submarine into it is freaking cool. Like how many games have taken place in a submarine and done submarine stuff well? Like that's really cool and innovative and exciting, and I'd love to try and play that.
Totally.
But the whole idea of like the kind of heisty stuff, like I get like Payday did a kind of cool thing with it. I guess mechanically it was cool to be able to try and rob a bank and get out alive. But I don't know. When I watch this footage, I feel like it doesn't make me feel like a good person.
I was going to say, is this more like a broader thing of not wanting to be cast as the villain?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. That's just not the experience that I like seek out in video games. But I appreciate that it's like a fantasy thing that people want to do, and that's fine. Like we watch Ocean's 11, but I feel like even Ocean's 11 sets itself up as like, these are the good guys and they're the bad guys. So I hope they do a good job of that. And everyone who gets killed in this totally deserves it.
Rockstar is saying that this is the biggest expansion to GTA Online yet, giving you access to an entire island. As with the Diamond Casino, there'll be a bunch of missions that you need to do ahead of time to sort of prep before you go in for the final approach. The submarine you could set up as a headquarters, which is very cool. And a big selling point for this one is that you can do it solo. I think we've got enough coke, right? And we've got M&Ms for days. The big one for this is you can run this one solo, and before you needed, I think there was one where you needed 2 people and the rest you needed a squad of 4. So they've sort of answered the calls that, not everyone can put together squads all the time. So going solo. I'm quite excited for this because I've never actually done any of these heists before. And I remember when GTA Online came out and like at Good Game, I think Gog and John and Pete and Gus were like doing those first couple of heists and were like, oh my God, these are incredible because it's that.
Did you play any of the Paydays?
No, I didn't play the Paydays. That was before I got into really multiplayer gaming. And like that's a big blank spot for me because I feel like I would have really liked those. It's got that raid feel, I suppose, of like we're figuring out how to get through this.
Yeah, the best way. It's almost there are puzzle elements that you need to solve in order to get everyone out alive with the payload, as it were.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I don't know. It's less of a fantasy for me.
The Vegabus in the chat says thoughts on Diet Coke. Had a passenger remark it's the nectar of the gods.
I think I drank it a lot in high school before the other ones arrived.
Diet Coke being the nectar of the gods? I understand Coke. I understand even Coke no sugar. But Diet Coke being good to taste? I don't think so.
Well, you know that they invented Coke Zero because Diet Coke was marketed to women and men don't like to be thought of as being on a diet because that's a women's thing. Yeah. So Coke Zero was marketed to men. Zero sugar and men can drink it and it's fine.
That's insane. So wait, you're saying it was the same thing in the can?
No, I think they had a different sweetener. Right, it was just like, it's not like they could just re-release it and be like, oh, this is the new Diet Coke, we've made it taste better. They had to release it as something else and market it differently.
Yeah, right. I mean, men are very dumb. we are filled with insecurities and shame, and we hide those things by forcing our opinions and anger on everybody else. Okay, so we started off with 2 games that are not really Steph joints, I would say. But the next 2 stories, massively Steph joints, at least one of the games and one of the stories. So the first one, I mean, not a Steph joint, the topic of this, but Skull and Bones managing director forced out. I guess you're all for ousting toxic people from a workplace.
Yeah, but I think I read this story and at first I was like, oh, they've ousted him because he was doing a bad job as a manager. And then I read that he was like, part of the kind of internal audit because he was accused of harassment, multiple counts of sexual harassment, I think, or sources of sexual harassment, which sucks that Ubisoft have had to do that. And then I read that he hasn't been forced out of the company, but he's just been forced out of his role. So he's still there. He's just not in that role. So I don't know.
Oh, wow. I did not grok that he is still... I mean, he better be in his role. There was an
update to the article because they're like, oh, it's unsure at this time whether he's still going to be at Ubisoft or if he was just like turfed out completely. And the Ubisoft have confirmed he's still there. He's just not in that role anymore. So, I would hope that the reason, maybe it's a combination of reasons. He's been problematic as a person because of the harassment stuff. Maybe he was shitty at his job, but you would have thought that he would have just been forced out of the company entirely, but he's still hanging around doing something.
You had one job. My God. How hard is it to fire somebody? My question is, who works at Ubisoft anymore? It's just...
Don't they have like 10,000 officers?
Yeah, but aren't like 9,900 of those people being forced out after this leadership audit? I feel like...
good on them for taking action. Like, it's like you can't say that they have been completely idle during this whole process. It feels like they've been active. It's just that I don't know why. I guess, yeah. I mean, when you don't know the details of things, you don't know, like, it's hard to comment on it.
Totally. It's another, yes, good that he's removed from there. Don't know why he's still at the company, but hopefully there's a legitimate reason, whatever. Another massive blow for this game, though, which I feel like this is a cursed game.
It feels like it's never going to come out. It feels like, as Gus would say, it is cancelled before release.
I feel this could be the one that he didn't say it, you did, so you will get it right. But it is, were you, because we've kind of had this conversation before, but you were excited for this when it came out, but then you've since Sea of Thieved.
Yeah, but I feel like I loved Black Flag so much. Like, it's one of my top 3 Assassin's Creed games. So I was excited for a world kind of that really developed on that idea and made it even better and had like online elements. So I was really, really looking forward to it. And then, playing heaps of Sea of Thieves, and I've kind of cooled on Sea of Thieves now. I feel like I've kind of run it. That game has run its course for me.
Yep.
I was excited for this to kind of maybe take its place. It's just that it's been so long, it's hard for me to like retain excitement about it. And I don't know, maybe as soon as I get my hands on it, it'll just be amazing. And I'm excited. I'm still excited. I'm excited to explore. When I watch the sort of gameplay trailers and stuff like that, it looks like they've created a lot of new mechanics on top of the kind of stuff that we saw in Black Flag. There's a multiplayer element that looks really cool, and it just looks beautiful. So I'm excited to try it, but yeah, I'm concerned that it's taken so long to come out and it's had so many issues.
I mean, the stuff that we're watching now is from 2018 E3. They've been pretty dark since then. I feel like the game has probably gone through such a rework since then anyway, and we didn't know too much about it. This was the bulk of the gameplay stuff that we saw, that when they do a new reveal, then hopefully we can be surprised with like, oh, look at all the stuff we've fleshed out in this world, so that it's not just you on boats, which I feel like for me was a little bit of the Sea of Thieves thing, where it was like, oh, it is just kind of me on a boat a lot doing just some pretty simple boat stuff. But
what's interesting, I think, is that Ubisoft like created something so different with Black Flag from their franchise. And they were obviously so proud of it, because then they then followed it up with another game, Assassin's Creed Rogue, which was like a spin-off of Black Flag.
Yep.
And then they were like, you know what? The world hasn't got enough of the pirate engine that we built.
Totally.
We need to make another whole game.
Yeah, totally.
Using all of these assets.
I like that stuff. My robot in the chat says, Steph, I want to be the good guy. Also, Steph, I love being a pirate.
Guilty as charged.
Which is very nice. We'll see more about that. Hugus Rickor, who was the managing director who's been forced out, will not be involved in that. And I'm sure more and more stories will be coming out in the coming months of Ubisoft's purge of everybody who has created such a awful work environment there for a lot of people. All right, moving on now to much better news. At least I think it's better news. HBO giving a series order for The Last of Us TV series. Steph, do you need a TV show of The Last of Us?
Yeah, I mean, the thing that I always say is that when I love something so much, I just want to consume more of it. Like I say that over and over again, and I still stand by it. And I think that I was having this conversation with Peter. He was kind of like, I'm not sure what more story there is to tell, because the game does such a great job of storytelling in such a unique way that like, what else is there to sort of explore in a TV series? But I think there is a more fleshed out version of that story that can be explored in a narrative drama. And I think the challenge will be that, like, with The Witcher, for example, it had the books as a source material to draw from, so much stuff that we didn't get from the games that made it a completely new experience from people who are fans of the video game alone. And even people who'd read the books, they sort of mined small passages when people sort of mentioned, like in the books, they talk about Yennefer and they mention her backstory, but you don't actually experience that in real time like you do in the series, where you kind of live her whole upbringing and becoming a mage and stuff. So I think there's stuff that they can do there where they go into little pockets of information that is mentioned in throwaway lines or conversations about people's past and stuff like that, and you get flashbacks, and it all does a lot to flesh out the world and tell a more well-rounded story over the course of an entire season. I totally agree on that. That's a very good point about The Witcher. And also, like, The Witcher as a character is he has a profession that is sort of built around the idea of going on adventures and getting into stories, whereas something like The Last of Us, the main characters in The Last of Us had just an arc that they went on, and so we have already explored that arc. I think that for me, I feel like there's potentially a good chance that this
focuses on like something like the Fireflies, where they take an aspect of that world and drill in on that is tangential to the main story, and that fills out some of the details of the sort of game story without rehashing just the plot. I really do hope that they don't rehash the plot, because I think that even showing, even though there's a bunch of people who don't play video games and it's a good story, it's like, well, if you really liked if they tell a completely different story and you watch the TV show and you really like it, it might encourage people to go and play the games, because they're like, oh, I want to get more out of this. Not just like, oh, now I've got, you know how like there's a bunch of animes that just tell the story of anime video games, and it's like, well, now you just pick, you go, do you want to watch the anime or do I want to play the game? Yeah, that will encourage people to go there. And for me, like, I've never really enjoyed the gameplay of The Last of Us, so the idea that it's just story, this is the perfect, I mean, it's kind of what I wanted The Last of Us to be all the time anyway. Avari in the chat says the Abby stuff in part 2 around the Fireflies was really interesting. And yeah, that's the sort of stuff that I'm talking about.
Yeah, I think they'll still have to follow the main story beats.
You think so? From
the central plot, I do, yeah. And the fact that they're casting, well, I guess we don't know that much about it yet, but I think it has to. But I think that there are so many different avenues they can go down in terms of, as you say, you know, exploring tangential storylines as well. I think the biggest challenges for them will be, like a lot of people in the chat have mentioned, The Walking Dead. Like it's going to feel similar to that regardless, because it's kind of a zombie-esque post-apocalyptic world. But there's so much that show has A, done already, B, I feel like was so bleak and so horrible and didn't have enough, and so much of it felt like filler and padding, that I feel like it lost a lot of people along the way because of that. And I would hate for this show to go down that same direction, because so much of it was really focused on the relationship of the two sort of central characters. And then I suppose in the sequel, you know, the sort of dual stories of Abby and Ellie. So yeah, I really hope that they manage to find that balance of telling the story without making it feel like episodes are entirely world filler. Bulk it out.
Yeah, totally. And yes, you are absolutely right. Sorry, I'm just actually looking at another story, which this was not mentioned in the 2 that I read, that the official synopsis is that the story is about Joel taking Ellie, a 14-year-old girl, out of an oppressive quarantine zone. So it's straight up just the first game, which to me is instantly less interesting. I will watch it because I'm sure they will do a phenomenal job. But yeah, I'm like, I don't know. I've already seen that, and it's not like a book where I'm like, oh, you're realizing the thing that I imagined in my head. It's like, no, you told your story, and the way that you told your story in the video game was like a film. Like, you told it in cinematic language, so you just remake that. But Neil Druckmann is going to be the executive producer of the show, and Craig Mazin, who was the creator of Chernobyl, is going to also be producing alongside him. And then they've also got Gustavo. How do I pronounce his last name?
I want to say Santolaya.
Yes, Gustavo. I feel if I say Gustavo, I feel like that's enough. How many Gustavos do we talk about on like a day-to-day basis? He's going to be doing the music as well, which is a phenomenal choice. Moving on, and Cyberpunk has a streamer mode that disables copyright music. Obviously, with all the Twitch copyright strikes and takedowns and stuff with the music in the game, in licensed music in all games and being played as you broadcast on Twitch, a lot of streamers are getting hammered with that stuff, and so therefore are just not playing music on their streams or playing games that involve licensed music. CD Projekt Red has given players a solution to deal with that problem by disabling certain songs in Cyberpunk if you sort of like flick on an option that says you are going to be streaming or producing content with this game. Is this a smart idea, or is this like sort of not, if anything, like making the problem worse by providing sort of labels an out?
Oh, I mean, I think this is a super smart and helpful solution for them to respond to the situation as it stands right now, and give gamers like a safe way to stream this game and without the stress of worrying especially if you don't know when certain songs are going to appear that are going to be problematic, and are you just going to have to disable all the music, which is a huge part of the game, it looks like, in terms of creating the sort of evocative setting for the world. I think it's super smart, and I think it's amazing that they've been able to respond to what's happening so quickly and give people this whole game option.
The I do think it's like you said, inherently a clever idea, and also I suppose something that got implemented pretty late in the process because this hasn't been around for too long. I guess, again, my limited understanding of how video games are developed, it's probably not that hard where you just flag the songs that can't be played and there's just a switch. I wonder if they'll get replaced with sort of copyright. It
does. So it's not like it just you've just got silence during that part. They just replace the songs that are licensed with another song that is copyright free. Okay,
cool. And there's a ton of music in the game as well. There's 150 songs in the game, which is just enormous. And then they listed the artists, and this was when I really realized that I'm just an old man. I know Grimes, but I only know Grimes because she's married to Elon Musk or with Elon Musk. There's Run the Jewels, Nina Kraviz, Gazelle Twin, and Rat Boy featured on the soundtrack, and I don't know who any of those people are.
No, neither do I, but I'm sure they do sick beats.
I'm sure Rat Nick. Boy does great. I mean, I can't argue. My name is Nick Boy. Like people would hear me and be like, oh yeah, he sounds like someone whose opinion I should trust on literally anything. So. Hopefully that this is something that we won't need to see too much more of, and in some way music publishers are going to figure out a way forward that makes everybody happy, but knowing music publishers, that's probably not going to happen. Are you still excited for that game? I feel like I've spoken to Pete and Gus about Cyberpunk a lot.
Yes, like every day that passes, I'm so glad that it was delayed because I just want to focus on Valhalla now. I want to get the Destiny 2 raid done, and then I should have all of that knocked over and like feeling good about my completion by the time Cyberpunk arrives, which I think is just under 3 weeks away.
It is.
So I feel like actually the timing has all worked out pretty good, and I'm excited for it, and I think it'll be great, and I can't wait to create my character. Apparently you can customize your teeth.
What are you going to do to those teeth?
Well, I could give myself a little gold, canine tooth or something. So when I smile, it's like she's got a bit of bling.
I did see, I'm going to look it up right now. I did see that story about customized teeth, and I skimmed it. I'm wondering, are we talking, because I assume color is definitely something, and maybe some sort of like, whatever, you know how you vajazzle? Whatever vajazzling is for your teeth.
You mean like a grill?
Yeah, like a grill. Well, they don't call it like when they don't say we're going to grill on your pubis.
I feel like putting a grill in your mouth is way more common than vajazzling, but you went straight to vajazzling, which is so weird.
Well, because it's things that I've heard of. I'm not cool. I don't know about things like grills. I don't, but I definitely know about adorning the pubic area with crystals, glitter, or other decoration. So we know that stuff is stuff that you could do. I'm wondering, like, length, depth. Can I give myself like multiple rows of vampire teeth? I want to mess with the teeth, not just what the teeth look like.
Yeah, you don't want to like just have to be able to choose the level of dirtiness or whiteness. You want to be able to give yourself weird teeth.
Exactly.
I'm sure fangs will be an option. I'm sure some sort of weird metal or gold teeth will be an option.
What about upside down teeth? Which actually, when you look at teeth, makes more sense because we've got a lot of like just flat, blunt teeth. Turn those things up, put them in there, and you just got those Sharpies coming down.
What if you could give yourself little tusks?
Yes, I would love little tusks. Gold tusks. With a tiny bit of vajazzling right at the top.
I was about to say you still need to be able to eat, but then do you? Like, I'm not sure what the food system in Cyberpunk is. Do you just like inject yourself with nutrients, or are you just inhaling a cube, or are you looking at food and assimilating it through your eyes? The possibilities are endless.
There is like, part of the point of the game is over the course of it, get money upgrades to replace parts on your body. Maybe the first thing you replace is just your digestive system, which is the least interesting of all the cybernetic upgrades. I
totally would. Imagine just like not having to use food as sustenance, and then you could just taste things for the joy of it.
Totally. And also you could sort of upgrade that digestive system so that it burns food better. So you could also just eat incredibly bad for you things, but your body just is like, it just sucks out the things it needs, and then just like the rest of it is just sitting in a metal pit that once a week you just open up a flap and it all comes out of you.
Oh, like a motorhome.
Like a motorhome.
Like a motorhome.
Exactly. Like you and Pete in New Zealand. That's exactly what you need. And that's why you never see motorhomes get fat. They can eat whatever they want because they just keep it and they dump it once a week.
So slim.
All right. Something that isn't slim, a massive video game, World of Warcraft, bloated, giant, enormous. WoW designer Chris Kalicki has quit after 13 years, saying he is, quote, unhappy with the state of the game. During his 13 years at Blizzard, he worked on World of Warcraft PvP, class design, in particular the monk class, and he's designed zones within the game. Like 13 years, that's a long time. He's worked on a bunch of the game. But he has actually left because he feels like World of Warcraft is heading down a path where it's focusing more on epic story of the characters and less, I guess, story of the players in the game. And I thought that was a really interesting point. You, Steph, like not someone who necessarily gets into MMOs, but, you know, your background in mud gaming and that sort of thing, he brings up the idea of particularly the guild system in World of Warcraft being sort of like stripped back and less of a focus on that. It's not focusing on the things that only MMOs can do, which is encouraging player-to-player gameplay, and it's focusing on big story. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, I can't imagine what it must be like, the feat of trying to keep a long-running MMO like that feeling like fresh and with enough new content to keep existing players happy and keep attracting new players. I'm nervous to say anything bad about WoW because every time I do, I get angry WoW players yelling at me on Twitter. Yeah. Like, you guys are so out of touch, man. WoW's still the greatest game ever. And look, I mean, it still has huge numbers, so those numbers don't lie. I don't doubt that the WoW community is still super dedicated, but yeah, I think the point of a big open world game like that, and I think, you know, I always talk about like Destiny being an MMO because it is, and you can't say it's not, but the joy of that comes from the player interaction and the stuff that we do together. And so I think if WoW is moving away from that sort of stuff, then it's only to its detriment, right? Like it's creating a very kind of vacuous experience that doesn't bring people together but makes people feel alienated, which sucks. Whereas, I think the guild stuff is what was always its strength, that people kind of were brought together in groups to attack various puzzles and game mechanics together to feel like they're achieving something as a unit.
Totally. He stated that that when with the release of Classic, and I think that looking at Classic compared to modern WoW, and he saw a lot of the things in Classic where he's like, oh, that's actually the stuff I really loved about World of Warcraft, and I do think it is really fascinating. Like, you're so right that something like Destiny, the joy is doing things with other people. I think by focusing on big story in something like an MMO, it means you need to, if that's where you've pivoted, it means you need to continue delivering story, and that part of that is you can't always just do these huge, big, epic story updates. I think that's where a lot of filler ends up being pushed in, that you're putting like small, inconsequential filler content within there to sort of like pan out the gaps in between big story reveals and epic moments. Whereas you need less filler if what you're doing is encouraging your players to interact and almost not create content for themselves, but engage with content together. You need to do less of the hand-holding. I guess it's harder to be able to trust that will work and to be able to like regularly put in new systems that effectively do that. But I think that I do think it's really interesting that only MMOs are the kind of games that can really encourage people to work together in that kind of way. And by moving away from that, you are moving away from I guess, your unique selling point of an MMO.
Yeah, I think so. I think what's interesting too is that this guy, like, who has been at the company for 13 years, has given this long kind of YouTube spiel about why he's made the decision to leave.
Yeah.
That's something that's kind of unusual for a developer, but he obviously felt connected enough to the game, and I guess the experiences that he's had with players now to kind of explain his decision to leave. But I think it's pretty telling if he's been that invested in the game for so long and then feels like it's not something that he can kind of feel proud of working on anymore. Yeah.
Well, also, maybe he's trying to get into being a YouTuber because he's only got 2.3 thousand subscribers, but this video has 65,000 views. So that's why he put it out, because he's like, this is the thing that's going to this is going to break me out. It's his first video. That's got to be one of the...
And he just needs to start doing makeup tutorials.
That's all he needs to do. He's looking.
That's how you be successful.
He's looking a little yellow there as well, so he could probably use some new shades. I think that's a good idea. And then a couple of the final stories wrapping us up. Among Us getting a new map. It looks like it's going to be announced at the Game Awards on December 10th. It looks like it is set on a spaceship, and one of the characters is wearing a monocle. And that's basically all the information we have. Steph, is the first Among Us map set on a spaceship? I thought it was.
The whole thing is set in space. Yeah.
There you go.
So it's not. I think it's just a different type of spaceship or a different level of the spaceship or whatever. But I think the point is that it's just giving people new ways to try and catch each other in the act of being sneaky. But I think the greatest thing is that it's getting announced at the Game Awards, this little indie game that came out 2 years ago that has found the surprise success in 2020 to the point where now suddenly they're on this huge world stage with this little map announcement. Yeah, unreal.
Yeah, I know.
Good on them.
Yeah,
good on them.
It is amazing. And I assume this new map will come with a bunch of new mini games and stuff. It is we've seen it. Again, I've never played the game before, but we've seen lots of games like MOBAs and everything where they have one map and you just iterate on it. But I feel like the Among Us thing has been basically entirely stagnant, right? Like they don't really update the games on that or rotate stuff out or change.
Well, they were making a sequel.
Yes,
and then they abandoned the sequel because the game got so popular. They were like, we are better served creating new content for the existing game than starting on a whole new sequel to it, which I think was a super smart move.
Yeah, totally.
And I think what's cool is every time you add a new map is it's kind of reinvigorating it for people, because as soon as you learn that map really well, it becomes really easy to lie about it. When you put new stuff into the game, suddenly people are like, what were you doing in the, cargo bay? And they're like, oh, I was the thing on and they're like, eject.
Yeah. I like how Pete is trying to show, he's like, what else can I show about this? And just brings the picture back up and then just mouses over things as if to draw attention to the fact that, did you notice there's a seat here? And there's a lot of floor area. So please let your eye be drawn to the floor area of the map. Good work, Pete. The real story to this is that they announced this on Twitter. They did not have a Twitter account. They created one and put their first post on the 19th of November. And at the time that I put this in the document, which was yesterday morning, they had 689,000 followers. And I'm guessing they're probably over 1 million by now. So that's a very rapid Twitter growth. But also probably a lot of pressure because you're coming up against
do you feel like the devs are just freaking out?
I would be. Particularly
because I feel like developers of games like this are not the kind of people that are sort of seeking out a world stage, to have this kind of attention, I don't think. Mm-hmm. And when it's thrust upon them, I feel like my anxiety levels would be through the roof.
I feel like they are probably freaking out now more than they ever have, because before it was like people were discovering the game and going, oh my God, this is so good. And so they're like, well, we've already made this game. We already know it's good. And people are finding it and they're reaffirming with us that they love it. And so it's just been gravy at the moment. It's just cream and gravy mixed together. It's some sort of creamy gravy concoction. Whereas putting out a new piece of content for this game is probably the scariest part, because they're like, what if we break this? What if we end up like Fall Guys, who was like sold 10 million copies and then like 1,000 people are streaming it on Twitch now because everyone's streaming Among Us? That would be the scariest part for me.
Yeah, it's always like second follow-up album scary,
Totally. Yeah.
Pressure, isn't it? It's all about what they're going to do next.
That sweet sophomore slump. Moving on, and the mystery of the Demon Soul secret door has been solved. This was something that Pete and I spoke about last Wednesday on the news, that a new door had been added in Demon Souls that wasn't in the original, and they needed to figure out how to unlock it. The Twitch streamer Distortion was the one who finally got the door unlocked on Thursday, and it was a set of ceramic coins that needed to be presented. Multiple 26 coins needed to be given to Sparkly the Crow, that handed you a rusted key that meant you went back to the door and opened it up. It's all very complex, very dumb, very lovely at the same time, and I never know how anyone solves any of this. But then got in there, and there is a piece of armor set that was not in the anywhere else in the game. It's the Penetrator armor set, so we hope it was worth it. That's all I have.
I think that's a pretty cool. You want some sort of cool treasure to be behind the door, don't you?
It's a cool looking set. It's very pointy.
I feel like that's consistent with the world. I would say Dark Souls as a whole is pretty pointy.
I would say, yeah. It is.
It's a pointy game.
It is both incredibly pointy and also incredibly undulating fleshy. It's those two things joined together. You know what I mean? It's hard lines and then soft flesh beasts with exposed bellies. That's what it is.
Oh, there it is. Oh, yeah. Oh, for sure.
Look at that.
Yeah. Wow.
So pointy.
Very detailed. Look at that unicorn horn. Think of the damage you could do with that.
Think of that. Don't even need a sword. Just ram people. Very impressive that they managed to solve it, and I do enjoy that there's little secrets like that. Who knows if there's something else further, Peter? And now point out the things we haven't seen. Notice the floor around the character standing there. And then the final one, Steph, talk me through the final story we've got in here.
Yes, I just felt like it was worth a mention. So Destiny 2's raid, the Deepstone Crypt, came out yesterday at 5:00 in the morning, AEDT. So there are certain accolades for completing the raid on the first day. So the way raids work is that it's a huge, a series of encounters based around a set of really complex, ridiculous puzzles that you have to solve, as well as trying to stay alive with a whole bunch of different enemies and things like that. And usually there are a number of teams who are competing for world first to be able to solve the puzzles and complete the raid first in the world. But, for a lot of people, they just want to be able to finish the raid on the first day, whether they're sort of seeking the help of other people who've completed it earlier or not. And our own Pocketeer Avexia with his raid crew started at 5 a.m. and finished the raid in 22 hours and 42 minutes.
Oh my God.
So they just scraped in within the 24-hour mark. But
so to be clear, that's straight gameplay, right?
They didn't. They just didn't stop. Oh. They had to just keep going because it was a time crunch. And I think for Avexia, he took time off work and everything to try and complete this and be able to do it on day one. So it was a big deal for him. And I don't know, I've never watched anything like this. I never really understood the trials of raids day one, but I would sort of dip in throughout the 24 hours to see where they were at. And they spent, I think between 7 and 9 hours just on encounter 2 alone, which seemed to be a real roadblock for everyone. Like everyone was stuck on that second encounter. No one could solve it. Or even if they finally figured out the mechanics of it, they just couldn't manage to pull it off as a team. So it was just it was crazy. And then by the end I was watching them and they were just it got dark, man. They were just tearing each other apart. People wanted to give up. They were yelling at each other. It was full on. I've never seen anything like it. God. It was and I went to bed being good luck. They were on the final encounter when I went to bed, but they still hadn't completed it. And they were starting to be I don't know if we're going to do it. It feels at this point, it's not even worth trying anymore. And it was just so sad. And I was just I hope you do well. Good luck. I believe in you. And I went to bed so stressed and sad. And then I woke up to Avexia's tweet with the screen cap of them at the end of the final encounter, having completed that at 22 hours. And I was very happy.
That's so cool. Well done, Avexia. You'll see this when you wake up in 2 days' time. That's that's just epic work. So congratulations. And when are you ready for raiding? When are you jumping in?
I think I just hit 1230 light level. So I think technically I will be able to do the raid week 1, but I think I want to grind a little bit more so I'm not like, so I'm just like a little bit more okay.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like now that I've seen it, I'm worried that like I'm not going to be able to do it. Like if they were all like above light level and the struggled that much, even once they knew the mechanics, like I feel like I don't know that I will be able to.
I believe in you. I think that like this is the point of it, right? It's this.
Oh
this
yeah,
challenge.
He just woke up. He's here. Yay! We were just talking about you.
Well done, Avexia. I'm definitely going to do this raid. I'll probably do it in 6 months' time when I actually hit that light level. I am currently working my way through the main campaign, and I'm on the warrior mission, where I draw out Elenax, and it's like that 3-phase boss fight where the first one, she's on the ground yelling at me, and then she goes up onto a level and say, anyway, the light level recommendation for that is 1,100. I'm on 1,088, I think. And I am genuinely like hitting my head against a wall on this. And I don't remember Destiny being this stringent when it comes to like the recommended light level. I don't know whether they've gone harder on this. Like the difference between like 10 light points is.
I think day one, there's a couple of things. They deliberately, they put you, I think, 20 under the light level. Like they kind of make you deliberately weaker. They also like, there is your gear level, and then you have the artifact, which gives you bonus light level. And so for day one, the artifact is disabled, so you don't get any of that bonus. But after day one, you do get it. So there's a lot of things that can help you.
Right, okay.
I guess I'm just concerned. I'm less concerned about my character's light level and more like about my ability and performance because it just looks really hard and it looks really complicated. And I don't want to be the person who's like letting the team down, but I'll definitely give it a go.
Well, I'm excited to see how you go, and then I will be the person that lets the team down in a couple of months' time. Once I figure out how this dumb mission, I need to go grind. Where do I gotta go? I gotta talk to someone. I'm gonna talk to someone in the Discord about where to go grind and just like get another 10 light levels so that I can actually like decently deal with this fucking idiot who keeps killing me. All right, that is all the news that is fit to print for today, Monday the 23rd of November. We are back on Wednesday with more news. We're back tomorrow with more videos. Steph, we're back Thursday. Well, I'm fairly certain it's Thursday. Something may be coming up, but we're not sure yet. If it will, we'll just move the show date around. But at the moment, everything is still fine for Thursday. Anything you want to plug?
No, I think it's coming soon. We have more Best Friend Forevers because we shot some more of them.
That's true.
So that's something to look forward to.
We did.
In the pipeline.
And also something to look forward to is the next month, which is we are going to be giving giving something back to you guys as well, which we are very excited about, and we've been working behind the scenes to put some stuff together for that, and that is that's turned out very well, and so you'll learn more about that this Thursday, or this week's show is when you're going to hear about that and see how you can get involved in what is going to turn out to be a very cool little Christmas surprise for someone and community. So yeah, we're excited. We're excited to be. Check out the main show this week on twitch.tv/back_pocket. Until then, thank you for watching. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for being part of the community. Become part of the community at Discord, patreon.com/backpocket. Join the Discord, where I'm going to be talking to you about how the hell I level up a Destiny. Steph, should we back it out?
Let's back it out.